Bienvenidos a Segundas Intenciones, evento internacional de arte y pensamiento creado por Lodo, plataforma de artes vivas. Segundas Intenciones es un espacio virtual en el que diversas voces localizadas del arte y la ciencia se encuentran en intercambiar y crear visiones sobre modos de existencia alternativos, relaciones interespecie, correspondencias con el territorio y también con las máquinas.
Bienvenidas, bienvenides a todos. Esta es la apertura de Segundas Intenciones. So, hello, I am Marina Quesada, co-director of Plataforma Lodo, and this is the opening of Segundas Intenciones, virtual event. Lodo is an independent platform for exchange, production, and circulation of contemporary art, live art, that operates with its base in Buenos Aires and focus in Latin America since 2014. And we have our focus in creating room to investigate interspecies collaborations. Outside the anthropocentric axis, collaboration is a vital link. This artistic and thinking event is a physical and virtual space where diverse voices meet to exchange and create visions about alternative modes of existence, interspecies relationships, correspondence with the territory, and also with machines. Segundas Intenciones creates room to redeal the cards, to feel and act again with a critical and amorous gaze, to fantasize about a possible world for human and non-human. Today we share Parasite Selfie, a collaboration between the Argentine artist Papagni and the Swiss artist tobibienz. Maybe you want to come here with the camera. So Parasite Selfie, their first work, was born in the Yet to Come residency, co-organized by Lodo in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. Reconnect, which is a festival from Iran and online festival. Espace from France, and Work It Out from Switzerland, and has resulted in this virtuous couple that take care of this special and sensitive project about the exchange between humans, cockroaches, and algorithms. Welcome, Vic and Toby. Maybe you want to present a bit the video that we are going to share.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. We prefer just to say a bit about the video, so you can just see it and have your own thoughts, and then we can discuss it later.
Okay, and Toby, you want to say something else? Hello, hello.
Bonjour. Not much. I think afterwards, after watching the video, would be nice to turn the cameras on so we can actually speak to you and not to black squares. But if you, for me it would help, but if you don't feel like turning it on is also okay, but just, I guess it's more than conversation and not just like,
So, okay.
But enjoy the video and thanks that you're here. And I shut up.
How would you collaborate with a cockroach? How do you kill cockroaches in your hometown? Starting by this question, Parasite Selfie aimed to build a sexy space for humans, cockroaches, and technology. By inventing a new language where it is possible to love such a being, Papagni and tobibienz build a naive, low-tech romance.
Well, I start just talking a bit. We present this art piece. A characteristic of this project is this hybrid, this hybrid characteristic. Like it's virtual and also it's physical, and it's a video, but also we have these sculptures, these 3D sculptures that I model, and we printed them in Switzerland. And we also have Toby, that he's a performer. So all these aspects are always interacting. This
The
give us
cockroaches, and they
and
just live.
sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
the stars. Sorry, the stars of the film, the cockroaches, of course.
and right now we got very lucky to be able to present them in Bagno Popolare. That is an old hot bath, like this natural hot bath. And I don't know if it's there. You can see it's always try new. I mean, before the cockroaches were exhibited in a nail studio. This is also how we start. We will talk about this later. How we start to work in the pandemic. You see this nail art, the pink hand where the cockroach is climbing on, is from the nail art studio. And right now it's in a hot swimming pool. So you are literally in your sexy swimming suit, hopefully, or naked, how you want. And you have the cockroaches are there, living there for the moment. And behind you have the video work. And so you kind of, what I really like about this kind of setting, we were super lucky because it makes that the people are there kind of also getting, I don't know, naked or not, but not in the normal suit. So somehow you come closer to the body level. And also like the philosophy and theory behind is constant trial and error, I would say. Like it's not that we have a master plan and then we go, but it's always we have an idea and then we flow there, and meanwhile we find out the practical things and we find out new theory background things, or that's how I experience so far how we go.
I was saying that you didn't know each other, you were part of Yet to Come, and you came with these both individual projects, and you came to a common project. So the curators coupled them, no? So they didn't know each other. They also didn't choose each other of the residency. So I wanted to know how this process was for you, like, and from not knowing each other to start sharing, to compose, how this was for you.
It was in the beginning just very, like, it felt like fresh water to be able to do something and to have the possibility to do something with someone who is not in my house because it was locked down. And then even from like really a different place of the earth and with very different perspective, also artistic wise, that was very attractive to me. And then it was just, I mean, we said this before, but it was such an incredible match. We just talked a lot and exchanged about ideas and books we like. We had a lot of fun together also. This was one of the main principles, that we want to have fun. And now it's growing and growing and growing. And somehow we became friends already, even though we didn't met in real world yet.
Yeah, and it was funny because that letter exchange is like the exchange of the distance, right? And now everything seems like near and fast, no matter which part in the world are you. So it was great because also it's not very comfortable, like to have a Zoom talk with someone that you never know, and you have that like little pressure, like you have to work together and to make a piece. So it was really nice, I think, like, and tender, that way of meeting. A nail art shop is also considered a space of beauty, like you go there to make yourself more beauty, and that's exactly the objective of this work, like to make something that it's a symbol of disgusting, like a piece, really like a marginal piece, to make it beauty, and to make it to make this trilogy without hierarchy between the hand, Toby's hand, or this pink hand, the technological hand, and the cockroaches, like these three species.
So Vic, if I understood okay, if it's like a kind of a coincidence, because you already were working with nails and with this kind of art, and he brought the idea of the nail shop?
Yeah, that was awesome. It's like, wow, let's do this. But also now I'm reflecting, and I'm thinking, and I'm saying that it's really a super good place to put this artwork, because a nail art shop is a place where people go to make themselves more beauty, like it's a beauty shop.
Yeah.
And that's our intention with the cockroaches and the video, like we want to build this sexy space for them.
And Toby, how your relation with the cockroaches began, and how you start finding them beautiful or nice to have in the or how do you find like cockroaches in general?
There was some fascination longer, like since 2000, I don't know, 15, like the fascination was much longer, always somehow ugly creatures and human body, like snails I admire a lot. I have also some works with them. And then I was in Hong Kong per coincidence when in the summer before the pandemic, when the huge protests were there. We were supposed to create art, but we didn't. There was no way. We went for the streets. We formed a collective between Hong Kong artists and international artists, but it was very hopeless. All we tried was somehow to create an echo for the people who were struggling and fighting to breathe, to think, to rest, maybe also. And also for us to understand how can we, what is our position when we have no time to understand what is the struggle, what is the conflict. But somehow we need to position us right now, because it's happening right now. We cannot read 100 books and then go for the the right thing. But it's now came the idea to fall in love with a cockroach, because one night after again running on the street fighting, a lot of tear gas, we were on the top of a skyscraper and there were cockroaches always everywhere, and some of them were trampled and there were some dead cockroaches. And I felt, okay, because the protesters were a lot of time called cockroaches, like in different species, always political powers use this to dehumanize their opponents. And I then thought, like, maybe this is the only thing I can do right now. If I don't want to give up to depression, I need to transform my feelings somehow. When I can transform this, somehow change is possible. Somehow I can, through my performative act, create a small change towards this small, strange animal, but then also towards political things, towards like gay people or whatever, where we have instincts of, so their change somehow is made possible. And that was created, opened the whole universe. Also, I could perform then this in China and in Hong Kong and talk about the protests by flying under the radar of censorship, because you cannot talk about Hong Kong. So all this happened, and then I realized it's growing and growing and becoming much more like what is the cockroach and the animal and the disgusting. And then I thought, okay, I want to continue on this because it became such a huge thing for me, the process. I want to go deeper. And then I thought, instead of finding new cockroaches, I take these cockroaches with me. So I took them with me and I smuggled them in the airplane to Switzerland. I have them here now since. And then I found out, and this is another strange coincidence, these cockroaches are Argentinian cockroaches, because they are like Argentinian wood roaches, which are used all over the world to feed reptiles, animals like snakes and snails and whatever. Then you have living insects to feed them. And the most practical is the Argentinian wood roach, because they cannot climb glass and they don't get so fast a problem if some run away. So this was again like strange match in all of this. And yeah, this is how I came to vermins in general and to the Argentinian wood roaches. And it's very strange that then we met and it was such a match. And this species is actually originally from the wood in Argentina. And there is again the question, like, this wood is teared down, so what does it mean? Is there still the original habitat of these small guys that we call vermins? But actually we are the vermins on planet or blah blah blah. It opens all these questions of
Big, how did you get to your heads and 3Ds printing heads?
Well, I was actually investigating a lot about selfies and like this contemporary self-portrait that we all do. And this mix between like self-advertisement and self-legitimation and self-affirmation, and also as as an affirmation of identity. Well, I also work a lot of with sorry, I also work a lot with queer theory that it's related with identity, so it's kind of fits. And well, I was working with selfies, and then I just thought, okay, I'm going to make a monumento. I don't know what's the English word for that.
Monument, maybe.
Monument of my head, like a monument of my head, and I'm going to exhibit in the public space. Like, it's like the same gesture that we do in social media, but in the public space. And as a sculpture, like this a relationship between the self-portrait as a really classical topic in the art world, in the art history actually, and with the selfie. So it's like this movement, like, okay, I'm going to take this for the virtual space and I'm going to put it in the public space. And that shape is a sculpt, a bust. So I made that, and then I made a lot of self-portraits, like more in a thinking like in this industrial way, or like in this serial identities that we are like saying all the time. This kind of a product selfie, you know, like a product face. So I start make a lot of self-portraits in 3D. And it was like, I think Chovy proposed to me to work with that. I was thinking to work with, I don't know, like to invent something else, that we were working separately and we work a lot in them, and then we just merged them, and they really transform and actualize. But that doesn't, I mean, I'm still working with my head, and Toby's still working with the Vermins, and still we have this project together, like actualize, and we give more sense to our last project. So I think that's like a lot to me.
It really opened doors of thinking for me, also of practice, because I would never start to use 3D printing for plastic. Like, it was, for me, this is something completely strange. Like when I first saw, and then I had to make it in Switzerland, which was even super great that we were not in the same place. So I actually had to learn some stuff about your technique.
She wanted to know more about your intentions and your projects for 2022, where you, Toby, are going to come to Buenos Aires and are going to make a residency here.
The idea is like to be a bit here in Buenos Aires, and then to go to the like woods and try to investigate, or to be in the I mean, its original environment. It's kind of naive because there is no already an original environment, because this species, I mean, this cockroach is also growing in China and in Switzerland, but like they come from some environment, and that's the woods from Argentina. So we were thinking about going there and try to investigate in that area.
Well, we are going to be closing this meeting, and I wanted to ask you all, actually, you, Toby, and Vic, but you all, what could be, I mean, for second intentions, for Segundas Intenciones, we are thinking of intentioning again the earth, our relationships, our interspecies relationships. So what could be our renewed intentions, maybe related to the project in this case, but we can also throw new intentions together?
I am curious about my relationship with the cockroaches, actually. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do what Toby does, but I mean, I think it's interesting also, like, really relates with them physically.
But I have this belonging of, and this naive dream of becoming a cockroach, and I fall in love, and I have these feelings, but still they are just my projection on the cockroach. And is there a setting where it's still okay, even though I put all these projections? I mean, I don't know their projections on me, or if they even have projections, or if it's completely different. But so I will not intentionally or unconsciously abuse them. Meanwhile, I work with them. Meanwhile, I use them for poetry, for discovering, for whatever, for all these beautiful processes for me. But they are mostly beautiful processes for humans. So is there a setting that I can still go in this curiosity and in this flow, and to be fascinated when they're here and not abuse them? I don't know.